everybody, Splash here with another build guide for Enshrouded. This is a Longhouse inspired farm with pens for your animals at the bottom floor and living space on top. I also added a small windbreak for your larger livestock. These are the materials we will use: the brick timbered block, the conifer wood block, the granite block and the granite shingle roof block. I decided to build this farm over by the bridge because I've already prepared this area somewhat for builds. I am starting this project by building the floor at the bottom of the valley first, and it is 4 times 2 blocks large, and I'm using the brick timber block and the flat ceiling pieces for that. In every corner of every floor piece, I am adding a granite pillar like this. I am just leaving out the midsection of the wall that is facing the valley down below. To give the pillars a bit of a footing here, add another floor piece around it, like this. Oh yeah, and if you're building in an uneven area, which I will be eventually, you will have to build this with a block instead, because otherwise it will look like it's floating midair, and that doesn't look very convincing, does it? For the second floor, follow the outline of the granite pillars to get the perfect overhang. part here will change since the animals didn't have enough room in these pens. I really just left this part in because I wanted to show you the process here. The original plan was to make it look more like a stable for horses, but I had to scrap that later. The animals will need a lot more space than you think. This is what it's going to look like when it's rebuilt a little bit later in this clip. And as you can see, the animals will need a lot of space to be able to sleep and move around. Now, this part here is kind of difficult to explain in exact measurements since there are none. I am using these wider floor pieces here to create a floor, but I'm puzzling it together with a small one in the middle and they're overlapping, so no exact math here. I am also building a wide staircase between the two sections, so this stair is leading from the stone section to the wood section. It's 3 floorboards long, and I have to mix and match to make it fit together afterwards. Use a 2 meter floor piece to measure out where the entrance is going to be. These 1 meter stone blocks are going to be the cornerstones, quite literally, of the rest of the house. tie it all together with walls, but keep in mind that it's easier to start from the corners. Like this, you will get a nice window in the middle of the longest wall. This here is just to mark where to build upstairs. I will remove these markers later. The other wall is easier since we've already figured out how long it is between the pillars. We are adding these floor pieces on top of the pillars to give the roof a nice place to rest on top of. Oh, that's not right. It's supposed to be like that, yes. Add these beams between the pillars to give an opening for a window later. Add another beam along the floor between the pillars. And the rest of these walls will just consist of columns more or less. These are just for an interesting shape, and you will soon notice that I will change the size of these windows a little bit. We are taking inspiration from Nordic longhouses, which means that the windows were barely there at all because you had to keep warm. For those of you who don't know, back in the day, they kept farm animals indoors to keep warm over the winter. And that is why we built the barn below the floor here, because warm air arises. The roof can be a bit tricky because you want a bit of an overhang, and this is because you need to make sure the walls are safe from weather. I also must add that I really like the wooden details on these roof pieces. Gorgeous. If you're having a hard time getting the perfect overhang with the roof pieces, start over the window with these inner roof corners instead. They're supposed to meet just above the window. We are adding an area in the roof where smoke can escape later, because this stone section is where we're going to have a fireplace later. larger opening above the windows, right there. Follow through by adding a column here. I realized that this didn't look very realistic, so I decided to add some stone floor pieces under the columns to make it look more stable. And then let's tie these columns together with a step wall. Then it's time to prepare for the roof, and we're going to do the same thing on both sides. This time we don't need as much of an overhang. For the entrance, we're not adding any overhang at all. For the wooden section, we're not adding any overhang either, because we have already prepared for that with these floor pieces on top of the pillars. Follow up with the wooden pillars all the way up to the ceiling. Add a column from the roof down to the ground to accentuate the shape. These beams are here for another layer of texture indoors, and you will notice that I placed some of them in the wrong place, and I will have to sort that out later. Now, this is the tricky part, and this is just for the looks, really. If you find it too frustrating, just skip this part. Alright, so let's return to these animal pens. We remove everything except the pillars. We will have to rebuild some of these columns because they broke. And then we're adding fences here. The half wall between this pillar and this outer wall, and here as well. This little windbreak here is also very simple to build. I decided to start from this corner here and added these 4 floor pieces first because I needed to dig out of the hillside over there a bit for the rest of it. At first I built walls all around it pretty much, but I decided it felt dark, and also we're gonna have animals in here that have lots of fur. They probably like the wind a bit, so we just need them to feel safe from rain, really. This wall piece here will be removed later. Instead, we will have 2 pillars in those 2 remaining corners afterwards. The roof is pretty straightforward. We'll just add a little bit of overhang in every angle, and we will be using this outer roof corner in every corner of the build. Here's the pillar I was talking about earlier. And to match with the rest of the builds on this little farm, we add a nice little border here. And here you see the result with a pillar instead of the wall piece. That's about it. Thanks for stopping by, and if you enjoyed, please drop a like, maybe even subscribe. Bye!